Lisa,
Yes, baby girl.
when I grow up, I want to be a womanist to society.
Then so shall you be. Hey, welcome to Women's to Society. I have the great pleasure today of speaking with Frank Grove from Oklahomans for Health. Welcome to the podcast, Frank.
Thanks for having me, Lisa.
Thanks for what you're doing in Oklahoma. You are trying to get medical marijuana to be a reality.
Yep, that's basically our single issue that I've been working for at least like 4 years now on. And at this point, we're pretty much closer than ever before. We have a initiative that's ballot ready, and we're just kind of waiting on the governor to declare a date for us.
And that's SQ788, yeah?
Yeah, SQ788. It's a pretty interesting initiative. We definitely tried to develop something that provided a lot of access for anybody that needed it. So we have a very open and, I like to call it, a patient-doctor kind of based system because like other states, we kind of give a lot of leverage to the doctor, like California. And we also have a very kind of free market license system where we have low prices for licensure and not a lot of limits as far as growing or number of licenses because we know other states have overregulated themselves like Arkansas. So we spent months ironing out and compromising on every little detail in public through general assemblies that we held throughout the state. So it's very much kind of a legislation of the people, as it were.
Yeah, I've been reading what you're doing, and it seems like you're very much thinking of the patient in terms of it's the doctor's recommendation based on that doctor's knowledge of that patient's health history and what that patient needs, rather than qualifiers like PTSD or whatever else other states are considering
Yeah,
reasons.
I've seen a lot of other states doing that, and it's a huge problem. And the last thing we want in Oklahoma is to kind of leave something that important up to the bureaucracy here. So that's, beyond just the fact that it really, that's the way it should be. That's how it is for all other medications.
Amen.
Doctors
Yeah.
prescribe, off-label all the time. It's not really any different than saying, hey, you have a very rare genetic disorder. Let's try high CBD strain of cannabis, So it's the same effective idea as what we already have with, our relationship with doctors. So
It makes total sense.
That's one of those things we're not going to ever let up on here, even with the legislation kind of trying to push the other direction.
Well, I was reading online, so I know it's true, that about 78% of doctors agree that marijuana should be legal and be able to be recommended to their patients. So you're right on board with a great majority of doctors.
Oh, yeah. And, I mean, we know a lot of doctors throughout the state that support us privately, but none of them will come out publicly because they're afraid of losing their licenses. And we do have one doctor, Dr. Sunil Agarwal.
Yes, I saw him on your website.
Muskogee. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And he is very public about his support for this. He does research in this area. He has a PhD and an MD, so he's a very intelligent individual who is working, or has worked at the NIH to kind of develop some of their research about cannabis. So he's one of the few people that can come out and speak about this because he has nothing to lose, as it were. This is his cause is this research, but your regular general practitioner, they have a lot to lose in their eyes. So until this is law, they won't come out and support us. And part of the reason, Oklahoma is very conservative, and that's why we included protections for discriminations against doctors that would recommend this to kind of ensure that, licensing agencies or other, private practices couldn't come out against doctors and punish them for doing this.
So well thought out, Mr. Grove. You know, like exceedingly well planned. Because you're right, nobody wants to take that first step in many places, especially conservative places. And yet, Oklahoma, for being a conservative state, actually has a lot of progressive things happening with your ACLU there, and then people like you are organizing these great ballot initiatives. You know.
Yeah, I mean, Oklahoma's kind of an enigma to a lot of people that haven't been here before. It's not as conservative as you would think. I mean, if you look at the demographics, it's pretty well divided between East and West.
Yeah.
In terms of just party affiliation, but I think that there's kind of a voter revolt happening here due to just the leadership kind of failures at the Capitol in general. And as a result, like 7088, which is a revenue producer, not a big one, but state agencies have estimated it will produce a couple $100 million in tax revenue. So I believe that, even the most conservative politicians here will kind of just look the other way and wash their hands of the issue. And they're more than happy to do that, hopefully. We do have some of them that do support us privately, again,
Sure.
but they're not willing to come out for the same reason as the doctors. So I feel strongly about the success of it here because of all, what we know privately.
Right. Well, it's just good common sense. It's a high partisan issue, a money making crop that benefits the public and makes them feel better if they got medical ailments or, epilepsy or PTSD. There's a lot of veterans in Oklahoma. A lot of U.S. veterans living there suffering through PTSD. So it's good for the people. So hopefully you'll get it done this time. I know it was supposed to be on the 2016 ballot. Weren't y'all supposed to have a marijuana initiative on that ballot that would look like it was going to pass?
Well, basically what happened in 2016 is we basically submitted kind of at the last minute, just due to kind of building up more capital, building up more momentum as much as possible. We're very much a grassroots organization, so we didn't have a lot of money. I mean, our dollar per signature count was one of the lowest ever in state history, probably,
Yeah.
if not the lowest. So as a result of that, Scott Pruitt kind of threw things into a legal limbo there for a minute when he challenged the ballot title. So that's what kind of pushed it off that 2016 ballot.
Huh.
In effect, because that meant that there was an additional delay that pushed it beyond where they were going to print the ballots. So we always knew that was a risk, but at the same time, we also still were, deriving momentum and capital. So it was a well-played attempt to get it on the 2016 ballot, but ultimately Pruitt kind of threw a monkey wrench into our works. And later on, the Supreme
ballot
Court
blocked
ruled,
you. He ballot blocked you.
Yeah, basically he ballot blocked us. Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Basically, after he ballot blocked us, the Supreme Court came around and said that his title was terrible and completely restored our ballot title. So we did win that battle. It just pushed us off to 2018.
What a punk. And how do you get these?
Now he's the EPA director.
Well,
so.
they have ulterior motives. Everybody's got their lobbyists working their evil. Not everybody, but
yeah.
you know what I mean. It just seems like all these massive industries don't want hemp and don't want people using CBDs, so they're the ones driving all this baloney. So how do you
They're
get?
definitely a big instigator. Yeah.
Yeah, for real. It's like everybody just chill. What's the value of what you're campaigning for?
Well, I think people are, in this day and age, people do appreciate somebody that is honest. And I think that we'll see more honest people coming out politically that begin to win as voters kind of get tired of this political games that everyone's playing that we're all aware of. I mean, we can see the games,
right?
It's 21st century. It's very hard to hide. So,
enough of us are awake to it. So yeah, let's hope. Well, how do you get these ballot initiatives driving with no money and actually get them to the point where somebody can vote on your issue?
So we have an approach called diversity of action. And so we had a lot of different ways that we gathered signatures. We did have a very small paid contingent. We also had a very large kind of volunteer base where we had a way through some software that we developed where they could get on and we could have somebody in the office ship them petition sheets with all the attached kind of materials they need and training documents, and then operated that in a decentralized manner. So because of the passion behind, the volunteers here and kind of facilitating this massive decentralized process, that's how we saw success. So that was only really half of the equation, though. The other half was the petition sites that we called the petition booths, right? And basically, there's a couple of laws that are established in a federal district, circuit court, I think Utah or something, that basically establish the public easement as a place where you can engage in First Amendment activities. And petitioning is a First Amendment activity.
Okay.
So even if there is a business that owns that property, say on the corner of a busy intersection where everybody's driving through, you can go petition there with signage and stand there on the grass, on the sidewalk, wherever you are, and kind of get people to come to you. And so because we were like doing the door-to-door and the other kind of grueling tasks that most campaigns like this go through, we were able to achieve, really high signature rates. And even at one point, we had so many signatures from one heavily trafficked intersection in Oklahoma City, we actually set up a site there 24/7. I mean, we were there for 21 days straight, 24/7. People passed out at some point. I'm not going to lie. But the site was running, and people were there for 24 hours a day for 21 days until the city finally got tired of us and kind of pushed us out. I won't get into that too much because it's the past, But anyways, so I think that through innovation, we were very forceful. There was a lot of interactions with the police, a lot of interactions with business owners where we had to educate them about our First Amendment rights and these laws, which are fairly esoteric, don't get me wrong. But, ultimately, Tulsa Police Department and Oklahoma City Police Department, they checked the books, and they said, yeah, they're right. And they started to educate their officers to just kind of leave us alone.
Oh, that's cool.
So it was always a point of contention out in smaller towns, but the Metro City cops, they're just as ready for this to kind of change as anyone else. At least in my experience, I can't speak for all of them. But
well, a lot of cops are veterans too. I'm sure that they don't want to be going after fellow citizens for plants.
And they've heard the stories. They've had family members, or other officers have had family members affected by something, like seizures that has been treated by cannabis. So I think that, these tactics are what pushed us over the edge, but really it's just the people of Oklahoma want this, and they were willing to put a lot of work and blood, sweat, and tears into it to kind of make it happen, more than anything.
How do you think the passage of 788 could affect the outlook of legalization of medical marijuana on a federal level?
Well, here's the thing. Oklahoma is bleeding for revenue right now, right?
Yeah.
And we really have almost, the government has no idea because oil prices they're never going to skyrocket to where they were before again.
And you're an oil state. You're an oil state.
Yeah, and that's how we derived most of our income. And since oil prices have been, low lately, our income has vanished. So we're also an agricultural state. And I think one of the things that Oklahoma will want to do once people have realized what this, how good this is for our society and our health, is want to export to other states like Colorado, Arkansas, and I think that being a very far-right state that has a lot of potential to export will begin to kind of change the face of the Republican Party, hopefully. And, I mean, we have state reps here that kind of want to, J.P. Jordan, here, a representative here, is already writing the enacting legislation. And that has never happened before for any other state question. They always wait until after it passes the ballot. So I think certain Republicans will want to use this to kind of, push themselves up to the next generation of voters and, be kind of the face of the new medical marijuana in the Republican Party or whatever, So that could affect the federal level and finally get us to end some of these kind of more ridiculous aspects of prohibition that still exist. That's my hope, right? I mean, this is obviously not happening this year, or even, probably not till the 20s, to be honest. I don't know though.
Well, it's a great vision, though, isn't it? It makes sense.
Yeah, and that's my hope. So we'll keep pushing in Oklahoma, doing our thing here, try to make it happen.
Well, how did you develop the legislation for 788?
Okay, so I touched a little bit on this before, but
right.
It took years to kind of develop the language, and one of the ways that we developed it was through General Assemblies, where we brought everyone together, and it was a very divided time, right? Because like every other movement, we have schisms, and we were going to run a petition in 2015, but decided to wait. So other people decided to run their own petition, which it unfortunately didn't succeed. And so we came back to the table to kind of bring everyone together. And, I mean, it took, like, months of negotiations and trying to iron out the most, the best kind of language that everyone, would be satisfied with, as well as integrating kind of the best parts of other states like Arizona, Colorado, and California, like their state card, for instance, which is, very strong privacy protections. Mm-hmm. So I think that, other states that I know of, at least I can't speak to all of them, had kind of a big money backers that inserted certain aspects into their language.
Yeah.
But, like, we had nothing like that. The final language was purely developed, like, by the people of Oklahoma. So I think it's kind of unique in that regard, a little bit.
It's fantastic. So, Frank, right now you're waiting for Governor Fallin to declare a date. Is that a normal timeline of a ballot initiative, or is there a certain delay?
Well, it's one of those things where she could do it at any time. She's not required to do it until 90 days before the election. Mm-hmm. But, the feel that we've gotten is they're just trying to keep us disorganized, and we'd rather kind of get the ball rolling now so we can start educating people about when the date is. So that's why we're kind of pushing for her to set the date on 788. That's the campaign that we're running right now. So really it's just to kind of get her to do her job. It takes 30 minutes for her staff to kind of come up with the document that she signs, right?
Yeah.
And the problem is the leadership is divided over which date they believe will do the least amount of damage for them.
Oh.
Like, they don't care about anyone else or anything. But so, like, in my opinion, I would prefer June because, like, my father just had a completely unnecessary neurosurgery that in any other, like, say, like Colorado would have not happened.
I'm sorry.
And it's fine. He's actually above average in all of his recovery, so we're better. But, like, it's like, why wait when they've already made us wait, another 2 years for kind of just legal nonsense reasons. So, that's why we're pushing for June. I don't know what she'll pick, but we are going to be melting her phones and, picking her wherever we can find her until she sets a date. So,
are there anything Oklahomans can do to try to get that date set?
You can go to our website, OK4Health, FOR health.org, and there's a call to action right there on our homepage, and you can help us by calling, and you can learn more there. You can just call the governor's office, and her phone number is on their website, and I can look it up here in a minute if you need me to, or you can include it in the link. But,
yeah, sure.
And just tell her to set the date on 788 because it's pretty obvious what they're doing. I want to get this part done because people have been confused about whether it's June or November, and if it is June, we need to be ready now. So
they're trying to
set the date on 788.
Yeah, they're trying to mix things up a little bit so nobody knows when to show up at the firehouse and pull a lever.
Yep, exactly.
The election's Tuesday, except if you're a Democrat. Come on Saturday.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully she will set that date. And hopefully people will get involved in Oklahoma. If someone doesn't want to call the governor, but they do want medical marijuana when that date gets set, how can they keep in touch with you?
There's a volunteer form on our website, and they can just sign up. And if they're out of state, they can just put their state or whatever in there. And, when we start phone banking people and everything, we'll reach out to them and see what they can offer. As people out of state, they can always just share our Facebook or share the website, okforhealth.org at any point, we don't really have a donation vehicle at the moment, but we're working with another 501c4 called Oklahoma Initiative because they're running the PAC for this campaign, and they've already got quite a bit of money kind of pledged for that. So, we're just offloading all the ethics reporting and all the kind of those kind of tasks to them, so we can focus on organizing like the best get out the vote campaign we can as a mass org. So just share it, and get people out to share the information.
Well, it's a great website.
Well, we tried because there's when you're pushing for something that has like the taboo of being disorganized and kind of like the stoner image, right?
Right.
You want to show people like that's not what it is. So that was the idea behind I built it. I'm a software engineer, so it really wasn't that hard.
It's well done. Yeah, you're super talented. I really appreciate you talking to us tonight, Frank, and I think you're doing something fantastic. This ballot initiative is very well thought out, and you seem super organized.
Well, don't oversell me. We're doing the best we can. I got a lot of people that help. Let's put it that way.
Well, I hope more people get involved.
Well, just keep spreading the word. And thanks for everything, Lisa. I really appreciate you having me on and Oklahomans for Health and 788. So
it's
thank you.
Fantastic ballot, 788, and I thank you very much for everything you're doing and for talking with me tonight. Thanks, y'all, for listening. Please check out okforhealth.org. And if you're in Oklahoma, get involved. Thanks for listening, y'all. And please join me on my website, lisalandry.com, where you can sign up for my newsletter and get a free audio download from my last album. Shout out Ari. I love you. I never been to heaven, but I've been to Oklahoma. Let's go.